My buddy Dave and I love taking simple wood and making it into something special, like a bookshelf for Gabe. In the kitchen, I also take simple things and make them special. Let me share a secret recipe. Discover an ingredient that fires your imagination. Choose other flavors to match. Find the best way to cook them.
Simple is best.
My secret recipe? Cooking without a recipe.
You can do it too. You can do it too.
Dave's a great neighbor to have. He's done a lot for me over the years. He's one of those guys who can build anything in the shop with whatever's kicking around. Kind of like my approach in the kitchen. I like to be creative with whatever I have on hand. The shelf turned out great. He's not much of a cook, though, so he loves when I invite him to dinner. Let's see what we have today. Chicken thighs. This will be the beginning of something. I don't know what yet. They don't come with instructions, but hey, neither did that shelf. I don't need a recipe. I'll figure it out. Every time I come in here, I try to have an open mind about my ingredients. I try not to get locked into any particular groove. So I need a little bit of a twist, something different, something like vanilla. This is the world's most popular flavor. It's been in just about every dessert I've ever eaten. I actually think of it as the salt of the pastry world because it enhances any flavor it comes into contact with. And you know, there's no reason that it doesn't work in a savory dish. It doesn't just have to be in dessert. There's a lot of opportunity in this jar. It'll be fun to figure out a way to aromatize chicken with vanilla. I'm definitely going to braise these chicken thighs. They're a little bit tough, and they really do need a moist heat cooking method to loosen them up. Now, the first step to any braise, regardless of what you're doing, is always to build a little caramelized flavor into it. I'm going to preheat that pan. Browning that. Chicken thighs, of course, have a bone right through the center of them. I'm just going to cut that right out. Now, these chicken bones are not going to waste. I'm going to brown these as well. I'll add one more level of flavor to this braise by including the brown chicken bones in it. Now, the key to this browning process is patience. Feel it's just starting to brown. It's one of the toughest things to learn when you're a young cook, this whole idea of patience. The chef's yelling at you, the dining room's full of guests, you got all these orders coming in, you got to get everything done so quickly, but at the same time, you have to be patient. Just take your time. Let the flavors unfold naturally. One of the best lessons you can learn as a cook is that the ingredient always inspires the technique. And the best way to do that is to work with the natural sugars present in the chicken and brown them. Build that nice, rich, deep caramel flavor right in at the start of the braise. Better get a splatter guard on there before I get in trouble with the boss. This is going to take a few more minutes to brown, but all this talk about vanilla has got me a little riled up. I got to get a fix right now. I think I'm going to make a cup of tea, and I'll flavor it with vanilla. Tea bags and some vanilla extract. Just a little splash of that in the tea. Hey, any tea needs a little sugar, right? Well, this sugar's got vanilla flavor in it. When I use up a vanilla bean, I always just take it and dump it right into this sugar. And then the sugar ends up smelling like vanilla. So I've got like a vanilla double whammy tea here. Oh gosh, that's wonderful. Vanilla has this rich, warm, friendly, inviting flavor to it. It is my all-time favorite flavor. And you know what? I'm going to work it into every single dish I make today. I'm not sure how yet. I'll figure it out though. My buddy Dave and I spent the day in the workshop, and now he's coming over for dinner. He has an adventurous appetite, so I'm trying out some new ideas on him, and I'm keeping track in my journal because they're turning out really good. First, I decided on chicken thighs, a natural for braising. Then, while looking for a twist, I found my vanilla bean stash. I'll flavor the braised chicken with it, and I'll work it into a few other dishes as well. It is my favorite flavor. The chicken thighs browned up nicely. The first step to any braise is to add all those caramelized flavors that you see. See all those brown bits down on the bottom of that pan? Those are known as the fond. They're the sugar-laden juice of the chicken that came out during the browning and caramelized on the bottom. The key is to get them into the braise. And here's how I'm going to do it. I'm going to slice a few onions into that, saute them a bit. I'm also going to add some carrots to this, just a couple. Carrots and onions go together like peanut butter and jelly. Carrots, say hello to the onions. Time to move on. So I'll just add the chicken right back to the pan. Chardonnay actually has a ton of vanilla flavor, mainly because it's aged in oak. And oak has vanillins in it, the same flavor compounds that give vanilla its flavor. You know what? I'm just going to put it all in. And it's a natural flavor pairing too. All this vanilla, this is going to taste awesome. So these are actually bean pods. They're full of seeds. And when you're buying vanilla beans, make sure they're nice and plump. Make sure they've got a beautiful aroma to them. Make sure that they're not dried and worn out or shriveled. Now here's how you work with them. It's actually very, very simple. Just make a cut right into the surface of them. Now you can see the seeds within. And then I just scrape them off on the back of my knife. And that'll go right into the braise. But this has got lots of flavor in it too. This is what flavored my sugar, my vanilla sugar. And I'm going to add it to the braise too. So I'm just going to mince it up. Now vanilla's at its best when it's complementing another flavor. What I need here is an herb. And not just any herb, rosemary. Years ago, I used to play around with all kinds of wacky flavor combinations. The sky was the limit, and most of them simply didn't work. But one that did work was quite simply rosemary and vanilla. It may seem unorthodox, but it's a natural flavor pairing. These two flavors work awesome together. When you're braising, it's important to cover the pan with a tight-fitting lid. I want to keep all the flavors and moisture inside. Now, this is going to take about half an hour or so to tenderize. While I wait, I've got time to make a dessert. What I'm going to do is make a panna cotta. For that, I need some milk. I'm going to need some sugar and some gelatin. This is one of the all-time simplest desserts to make. And you don't need a recipe for this either. What you do need is the basic ratio. And once you understand the ratio, you can riff off of that, change it around, be creative, try different flavor combinations. Just master the ratio. Here's what I mean. For every 2 cups of milk, I need half a cup of sugar and 1 package of gelatin. I'm not going to pour all of the milk in. I'm going to save a little bit because I'm going to need some to help dissolve the gelatin. And now for the vanilla. For this, I'm going to use my extra special homemade vanilla extract. This stuff is so simple to make. Start a batch of homemade vanilla extract with a jar full of plump vanilla beans. Add some store-bought extract as a starter. Top up with brandy. And after a few weeks, it will absorb the vanilla's perfume. A little bit goes a long way. Now, obviously, you don't have to make your own homemade vanilla extract. You can use whatever you find in the store. It'll work just fine. So at this point, it's only necessary to bring the panna cotta to a simmer. Just heat it through. The flavors of the rosemary will infuse very quickly. Now, to get the gelatin into the milk, I'm just going to pour enough of the hot milk to melt the gelatin. Just stir that for a second. And then pour the whole mass back in. Now all I have to do is get this into molds. Now I'll just pop this into the fridge until they set up. It'll take about an hour or so. Let's see, I've got my sweet vanilla ready to go. My savory vanilla is looking good, but I'm not done yet. There's got to be some more vanilla here somewhere. After a day in the workshop with my buddy Dave, I'm whipping up dinner for the two of us. He likes to try out new things, so I'm working on some new ideas, and I'm keeping track in my journal for future reference. I chose chicken thighs and decided to flavor them with aromatic vanilla. It's not just a dessert ingredient. The meat is simmering in Chardonnay, soaking up its subtle vanilla aromas, and the dish was finished with woodsy rosemary, an unorthodox but tasty combination of flavors. One nice thing about cooking with vanilla is that the whole house smells like vanilla. All that beautiful liquid's going to need something to soak it up. Let me see what I have. Something neutral to soak those flavors up. Let's see, rice. Nah, I had rice last night. Couscous. Haven't made this in a while. Couscous. This is actually the easiest possible form of pasta in the world. I remember when I was a young cook just getting started out, the chef said to me one day, make some couscous. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, this has got to be really difficult. I never heard of it before and it's got a foreign name. How am I going to do it? How am I going to pull it off? All you got to do, just pour some in a bowl and add hot water to it. Really, it's that simple. Just enough to cover it, not very much. And in just a few minutes, the couscous will absorb the water and soften beautifully. It works because couscous is actually a form of pasta. In fact, it's a form of pasta that's been rolled into tiny little balls and cooked and steamed and then dried again. So all you have to do is rehydrate it. It couldn't be simpler. And while I wait for it to rehydrate, I'll just whip some flavors together to mix into it. Let's see what I have. That'll work. Some nice dried tomatoes. Maybe an herb or two. Yeah, and some lemon juice. That'll work. I love couscous. It's so versatile. I'm just slicing these really thin. There we go. Just a little bit of that peel. I haven't even added any lemon juice to this yet, and already the whole kitchen smells like lemon. Few drops of lemon juice. Yeah, just a little splash of olive oil. Think of it as a salad almost. That's basics of a vinaigrette. A little bit of pepper too. And of course a touch of salt. Balance all those flavors out. And now all I have to do is mix it together. It really is that simple. Couscous comes together so quickly. Now here's another idea for vanilla, a vanilla vinaigrette. This is something I used to make in the restaurant all the time. I'm going to need some neutral flavors. This time I'm going to use honey to flavor it and some white wine vinegar. Got some olive oil out there. The vanilla's out there. Yeah, this is really, really simple. Now look how this is separated out. The vinegar's in the middle there, floating on top of the honey. That's one part. Got about 2 parts of olive oil, another part of honey down at the bottom, about 3 parts of everything else, 1 part of vinegar. As long as you remember that ratio, you'll always have a good vinaigrette. Now, normally I'd add a little bit of mustard to this to help the oil and the vinegar mix together, but I don't want to add mustard to a vanilla vinaigrette because it's going to conflict with the vanilla flavor. And there it is, vanilla vinaigrette. Nothing to it. And now all I need is some kind of salad green to mix it with, and there's so many different types these days. Variety is not just the spice of life. Variety is the key to life. Whether you're choosing greens for a salad or simply vegetables for your table, the variety door in your produce section is wide open. Just look at all of this stuff. Every single time you go to the supermarket, try something new, just on principle. Think of it this way. Years ago, if you were making a salad, there was really only one lettuce to choose from. A nice, crisp, beautiful head of iceberg. Good stuff. But boring. Fortunately, times have changed, and now salads are routinely made from leaf lettuces, romaine lettuce, Bibb lettuce, baby spinach, a wonderful salad ingredient. Lots of texture, crisp flavor, beautiful stuff. And mesclun, just look at the flavors here. All of the variety. In fact, the word mesclun simply means variety. Now, once you've opened that variety door, you never know what's going to come rolling in. Perhaps a head of radicchio. You can find this on every single dining room table in Italy. It's got a pleasing bitter flavor to it. It's perfect for salads, also for grilling and roasting. And hey, when you graduate at the top of the variety class, here's what'll be waiting for you. A beautiful head of Belgian endive, one of my all-time favorites. I chose endive because it's got a wonderful crisp texture to it. And not only that, it has a slightly bitter taste, and that bitterness will be nicely balanced by the honey in the vinaigrette. Just a splash, not too much. I don't want to soak it too much. I don't want it to be heavy. I want it to stay crisp. And now I've got one more garnish for that. A few raisins. This will add a little bit of crunchy texture too. Chewy texture, really. The raisins are sweet and they'll really be complemented by the vanilla vinaigrette. I think Dave's in for quite a treat when he shows up. Rosemary vanilla chicken, vanilla panna cotta, and vanilla vinaigrette in a salad. I'm getting hungry. My buddy Dave's going to be here any minute, and just in time, because the chicken thighs are nice and tender. They've braised up perfectly. Now's the time to pull the chicken bones out that I put in the braise earlier. And you know what, as I look at this, there's one thing missing here. It needs a little bit of green, a little bit of color, oomph. I think I'll add some spinach to that. Where's my spinach? There it is. I'll just pop this right in. Nothing could be simpler. Let that steam for a second, wilt the spinach down. While I wait, time to get the panna cottas ready. Now I've got 4 of these. I think I'll leave a couple for Rachel and Gabe. They set up nice. See that quiver there? Easiest dessert in the world. Now, here's how you get them out of the mold. Just take a little bit of hot water and dip them in just for a second. Won't take very long. Just long enough to release. Pop them out onto a plate. There we go. Look at that. Something else you could do is just slightly oil the mold before you put the panna cotta mix in. They look great, but you know, white on white, I need a little bit of color here. I think I'll whip up a quick rhubarb sauce. I've got some rhubarb in the freezer. This is some of last year's rhubarb that we froze. And here's how you make a quick fruit compote, fruit sauce. Rhubarb's pretty sour, so I'm going to add a little bit more sugar than I normally would. Now all I have to do is bring that up to the simmer, and I got a fruit compote. Perfect. That spinach wilted in no time. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Michael.
You're just in time. Why don't you get a couple of beers poured up there?
Gladly.
Dried tomato couscous. To soak up all those juices. Well, I'm not going to tell you what the secret ingredient is. See if you can figure it out. Cheers.
Cheers, Michael. Thank you.
You bet. Taste anything out of the ordinary there?
It's almost a little bit sweet. I think it's vanilla.
So yeah, I told you he's got great palate, this guy. Likes lots of different things. This is Belgian endive dressed with vanilla vinaigrette. My kitchen is no different than your workshop, eh? I mean, you don't start with a manual. I don't start with a recipe. I just have a lot of great ingredients around. The tools, the techniques. I just play, I just go for it. And when you do, when you're sort of relaxed about being creative, this is what happens. A good idea and a great dessert, too. I was playing with rosemary vanilla with the chicken, and I figured, hey, got to try it in a dessert, too. This is the dessert that chefs keep in their back pocket for emergencies. You can whip this thing up in a heartbeat. Here's the deal. You helped me with that shelf. I cooked you supper, but guess who gets to do the dishes?
Rachel?